Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are in the world. This is another edition of Perth by Night. Um, a couple of nights ago, say one or two, the prince asked for the harpies to get him into contact with a few people within the city. One of these persons, one of these kindred, was Sebastian Hallowell, the ventral primogen. And the prince arranged a meeting with Sebastian at the airport VIP lounge, a very exclusive location for at least the rich or famous or something close to that. Also, making sure that are people that have class and have a way of behaving themselves when it comes to status, etiquettes, and security. Mr. Halliwell will find himself being escorted by two lovely ladies to a VIP room in the back, where he will meet the prince sitting in a very cozy lounge chair, swirling what seems to be a whiskey glass of some sort with what seems to be a very dark bourbon or maybe some blood mixed with alcohol. And the scene begins.
Sebastian comes, he's prompt and on time. He can be seen flirting with the girls as they take him towards the back, making small talk, and generally he's in a very positive mood. Making his way towards the back, he notices the prince and his demeanor changes slightly. He says, "Good afternoon."
Good afternoon, Mr. Halliwell. Please have a seat and join me. I would like to have a word with you.
Sebastian nods and takes a seat. "So, how do these nights find you?"
These nights find me very busy, but not unpleasantly. I like working long hours. It gives a feeling of satisfaction when you grow older, that all your work gets paid off eventually. And how is my primogen of the venture?
"I'm doing well, I'm doing well."
Very well. How does the job of the being a primogen suit you, Mr. Halliwell?
My responsibilities keep me busy, but it's busy work that I enjoy. I'm very much happy.
Well, it gladdens me to hear that you are as much as a workaholic. I need to think the word is the Americans use, workaholic, as I am. I was wondering, did you by any chance get get your hooks into what I asked you to do?
But of course, my prince, I have.
I'm going to use an perception empathy roll to see if you really did,
Okay.
because, well, it pays off to be untrustworthy. That's that, and that's that. So here we go. Nope. I will not pick up anything. You will have a stone face.
Yes, I have, my prince. Um, Mr. Hallowell will go into his briefcase and pull out a few folders and say, "Well, me and Mr. Roth were speaking earlier, a few nights ago, and he brought to me something and something about his business, and we came to an agreement. I allowed him to use some things, use some things within the media influence that would be of a great asset to the city at large, and it seems to be a very fruitful effort. Also, like to say that my influences, such in the media, are doing well, and it wasn't honestly, it was a very humbling task, my prince.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I I have a question of it from a man to a businessman, and this question will be: I am trying to make sure that my city can take care of itself, and in that way allow us to save up resources for the future, so to speak.
Sebastian
To
folds his hand and says, "Okay,
to make sure that our city develops as it should, with all the chances there needed, with all the opportunities for new kindred to arise, to bring out high rewards at good risks, to make sure that is a true vampire city, a true Camarilla city. To do this, I need to I need to make sure that our city is well stocked, if you know what I mean. That means that I need to save up for when is a rainy day. I need to save up resources in order to reward kindred who have shown themselves capable of being what they are, seeing they are very capable at the moment. And this promises things for the future. I I want to know if you would think it wise to ask for a business tax, a tax on those people who earn their resources within the city, to give some of this back to the prince, to me, to make sure that Perth can stay alive, to make sure that we have something to fall back on in case something goes remiss.
Sebastian would fold his hand, smooth his hair back, and tussle it, and think very carefully before he says anything. He considers what you're saying, and then he begins to speak. My dear prince, although I see the need for a tax of the people of the world, of the domain that we wish to call home in Perth, I think it would be an idea, but the implementation of such a thing could lead to more interesting problems. For example, when people have feel a need to meet a quota or to meet a percentage of money, as it were, or a
No,
portion.
as I see it, it would be a percentage of whatever of the profit, a percentage of the profit. If you can't make any profit, you don't have to pay anything. Otherwise, I would drain the city from its funds, and people would start to lose money, which I don't want. So it would mean that some businesses who make a profit, which I assure many of people will probably have, will pay some of this profit back to the city. Only the profit, the not the general cost at large. I wouldn't say that every business has to pay $10,000 every single month. That would that would be ridiculous.
I believe that such a declaration would be met with much opposition.
I understand, but I believe you understand why I say this, correct?
I understand your logic behind it.
I will
However,
ex I will explain this logic to my people. I need to. I understand that I need to be open with my intentions. I also do not wish to keep it for myself. I do not live a very lavish life. I don't care much for physical things as well as knowledge, which is far more enriching. I do not want to ride in a limousine or a fleet of limousines. What I want is for Perth to enrich themselves. But for this, I know that when war comes, for instance, then coffers must be spent in order to defend ourselves. In order to make sure that we can defend ourselves, we need to make sure that the city is capable of stacking up on funds while it's going good. So when it goes bad, we have some air to breathe, so to speak.
though I do understand it, the need for such a thing, there is so much of a human aspect. For example, the major problem with stock holding money and demanding money is that people assume to question, or many of the other countries will start to question the intentions of the money. Where is it going? You would have to have something in place to set suspicion aside, something that would put the masses at large at ease.
Well, thank you very much. That I didn't think of it that way. Thank you. I will take this advice into consideration. I had one last question before you find your way back into the streets and have your dealings done.
Certainly.
Last time we met, you seemed to entice some anger within the Toreador Primogen, some resentment.
Not on my end.
I understand. I didn't seem that you were so shocking. However, you have to agree with me. You felt it as well.
Oh, quite sure. I believe that Miss Martin, Anthony's clumsy, is very. She seems to see me very appetizingly.
Hmm. Well, that would be very, very unfortunate if that would happen.
You see, I have a number of questions and a number of things that she would be privy to. She needs to see for not for unintentional slights as they were. You see, I'm almost done with my renovations and projects with the new Elysium that I hope to present to Miss Martin for her approval. But if she cannot, how should we say, contain herself, then how can we hope to do business? Even the smallest of steps
Well,
will lead to very stressful situations.
I have the possibility to help you with that. Would you mind
What
if
would
I would send an envoy along with you to make sure that she keeps her composure?
what envoy would you have in mind, my dear prince?
Well, I know for a fact that one of my clansmen, Mr. Simeon Musketeers, has a way of making himself very, very, well, obfuscated is the wrong word, but you know what I mean.
Very talented at what he does, you mean?
He is very talented at what he does. Also, he can be very discreet.
This puts me in a position to.
Well, you can see it, you consider it as a way that I am here to help you. I wouldn't want anything to happen to you.
Oh, I understand what you mean, but I also feel that such things need to be dealt with. Not saying that you aren't capable, my prince, far from it. I'm just saying that I wish you were more suited to do so. No,
Well, I
no,
just want to make sure that you can keep being unharmed. I would hate to lose the last one of the surviving Ventrue who liberated Perth. Or did you not liberate Perth?
I cannot take credit for something I wasn't a part of, my grace.
Ah, very well. Then that's a shame. Consider what I offer, because I do want the Ventrue to flourish. That's why I've given you an increase of domain. Consider a slight increase of your domain, a way of me telling you as a Ventrue to start making the city into one of the epic centers that it should be when it comes to media and, well, whatever Mr. Donovan does.
Mr. Hell will look. Sebastian will look and say, I'll consider what you have said.
Very well. Then please continue what you are doing and make sure that you are at the city's disposal. I think people want to see the Ventru being the pillar that they claim to be, as I know them to be.
As you wish, Your Grace. I'll make myself more available.
Thank you, Mr. Halliwell, for being so forthcoming with all your information.
It's my job as the representative of the venture that I act in a way that is both noble and forthcoming.
Well, to be honest, I am happy you are still within this city. I think the Ventru have always been a very forthcoming and very stern ally of the Tremere, and I would love to see this continue in fruitful ways.
Sebastian will lie and said it. I think it's mutual. So if there's anything
Very well.
you require of me, my
There
prince,
is nothing else. Just make sure that people can see the Ventru being as pillory as they can, so to speak. But that will be all. Thank you for meeting me. and have a very good night.
The Prince Sebastian would excuse himself and make his way towards the door.
And from this, we can end the scene.